It's crazy to think that by 2029, the global market for diabetes meds could hit like $110 billion. That's insane. Jumping up from $78 billion just in 2024. And get this, the U.S. is leading the charge on spending, so it makes you wonder, why are we spending so much on treating diabetes? Is it just bad luck, or is there something more going on here?
Yeah, it really makes you think. And there isn't one simple answer, it's complicated. But one thing is for sure, the number of people with diabetes is alarmingly high. Just in the US, over 38 million people are diagnosed with diabetes. That's 11.6% of the population, and that's just the people who know they have it. Millions more are probably walking around undiagnosed.
Wow, that's a serious public health crisis. And it's not just one type of diabetes either, right? There are all kinds, each with their own challenges.
You got it. You have type 1 diabetes, which usually develops in childhood. It's linked to the body's immune system attacking the cells that produce insulin. Then there's type 2 diabetes, which is way more common. It usually develops in adulthood and is linked to lifestyle choices. In this case, the body becomes resistant to insulin or doesn't produce enough. And we can't forget about prediabetes, where blood sugar levels are higher than normal. This puts people at a much higher risk of getting type 2.
So we've got this massive diabetes problem, and it's growing. And drug companies are making billions from meds to treat it. This might sound a little crazy, but is it possible that some companies actually benefit from people being unhealthy?
Well, that is definitely a controversial idea. But let's look at how much money some of the top selling diabetes drugs make. For example, semaglutide is estimated to bring in something like $38.6 billion. Dulaglutide is right behind it at 16.3 billion, and then there's empagliflozin at 15.9 billion. Even tirzepatide, which is newer and used for both diabetes and weight loss, is already expected to hit 13.2 billion. Those are some huge numbers, and they definitely give companies a big reason to keep those drugs selling.
Yeah, it's hard to ignore the money aspect of this. But it's not just the pharmaceutical companies, right? There are other industries involved too.
You're exactly right. Think about the food and beverage companies. They spend billions of dollars on marketing to make us want unhealthy food. Sugary drinks, processed snacks, fast food, it's everywhere. And they often target the most vulnerable people, kids and teenagers.
It's almost like they're setting them up for health problems before they can even make their own choices.
And that's where the connection to diabetes gets even clearer. Obesity is a huge risk factor for type 2 diabetes. When you have extra weight, especially around your belly, your cells don't respond to insulin as well. Insulin is the hormone that controls blood sugar. This can cause a bunch of problems and eventually lead to diabetes.
So if companies are pushing unhealthy foods that make people gain weight, are they basically fueling the diabetes problem? Are they making money from creating a problem that then needs expensive meds to manage?
It's a really complex situation with many connected factors, but there's definitely a chance that's happening. It raises a big question: what can we as individuals do to stay healthy when it feels like everything is working against us?
Yeah.
That's the big question, isn't it? It's easy to feel overwhelmed, like we're fighting a losing battle against all these forces pushing unhealthy stuff on us. But here's the thing, we're not powerless. We can absolutely take control of our own health, even with these challenges.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's so easy to focus on the bad stuff. But yeah, focusing on what we can control is empowering. So where do we start? What can we actually do to fight back and protect ourselves?
Well, one of the most powerful things we can do is focus on our diet. The food we choose to eat has a huge impact on our health, and that includes our risk of developing diabetes.
Okay, so healthy eating, what does that actually look like? Does it mean giving up everything good
Yeah.
and just eating kale and tofu all day?
No, not at all. It's about making good choices and finding a balance that works for you. Canada's Food Guide is a great resource. It has some really good guidelines that are based on science and easy to follow.
I've heard of Canada's Food Guide, but I haven't really looked at it in forever. What are some of the key things they recommend for eating healthy?
So one of the most important things is to make sure half your plate is fruits and vegetables at every meal. They're full of important stuff. Vitamins, minerals, fiber, and antioxidants. Our bodies need those things to be healthy.
Makes sense. I definitely feel better when I'm eating a lot of fruits and veggies. But it's hard to come up with new ways to eat them. Any suggestions?
For sure. You can try different cooking methods like roasting, grilling, or sauteing to get different flavors. Try adding fruit to your yogurt or oatmeal in the morning. Or pack some baby carrots and bell peppers for a snack. Smoothies are good too. You can sneak in extra fruits and veggies that way. Just get creative and find what you like.
Those are good ideas.
Mm.
What about grains? We hear a lot about choosing whole grains instead of refined grains. What's the difference and why does it matter?
So refined grains like white bread and white rice have been processed. They've had the bran and germ removed, and those parts have a lot of nutrients and fiber. Whole grains still have all parts of the grain kernel, so they have more fiber, protein, and a bigger range of vitamins and minerals. If you choose whole grain options, it can help control your blood sugar levels. You'll also feel full for longer, and it helps with digestion.
So things like switching white bread for whole wheat bread and brown rice for white rice are good swaps, right?
Yeah,
And choosing oatmeal instead of sugary cereal.
exactly. Little changes like that can make a big difference over time. And speaking of making a difference, let's talk about protein. Protein is really important for building and repairing tissues, and it also helps keep us feeling full after we eat, which can help us manage our weight.
I'm always trying to get more protein in my diet. What are some good sources besides the obvious ones like meat and chicken?
Canada's Food Guide recommends trying plant-based protein sources. Things like beans, lentils, tofu, and nuts. They're not just good sources of protein, they have a lot of fiber and other nutrients too.
I like adding chickpeas to my salads. And lentil soup is one of my favorite things to eat when it's cold out.
Mm.
How about processed foods? We hear all the time how bad they are for us, but it seems like they're everywhere.
Yeah, it's true. Highly processed foods now make up almost half of the calories the average Canadian eats every day. And those foods are often full of added sugar, unhealthy fat, sodium, and artificial ingredients. And they don't have much nutritional value at all.
I know it's easy to choose convenience, but it sounds like it's really important to limit processed foods for our health.
It's all about finding balance. You don't have to completely get rid of processed foods, but try to make whole unprocessed foods the main part of your diet. And don't forget to drink enough water. Water should be your main drink. Try to skip the sugary sodas and juices whenever you can.
I definitely don't drink enough water. I need to get better about carrying a water bottle with me. It's cool how these small changes can add up to big improvements for our health.
You got it. Every step you take towards a healthier lifestyle is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it is kind of empowering to know that we have more control over our health than we think. But it's also a little discouraging, with all this marketing and easy access to unhealthy food. It makes it feel like you're constantly fighting an uphill battle. So how do we stay motivated and not get overwhelmed by it all?
Well, I think the key is to remember that you don't have to be perfect. It's not about trying to reach some impossible goal. It's about making small changes over time, changes that you can stick with. Start small, focus on making progress, not being perfect. And celebrate the little wins along the way. Every healthy choice you make, even the small ones, matters.
I like that. It takes the pressure off and makes it seem more doable.
Yeah.
So someone's listening to this and they're feeling inspired to make some changes. What would you recommend? Where should they start? What's the one piece of advice you'd give them to get on the right track?
If you're feeling overwhelmed by all the information out there, just remember you have the power to take control of your health. And it doesn't have to be super complicated. Start by adding more fruits and veggies to your meals. Swap out sugary drinks for water. Choose whole grains instead of refined grains. These might seem like simple tips, but they can make a huge difference in the long run. And remember, every step you take, no matter how small, is a win.
That's great advice. And, it's important to remember that taking care of our health isn't just about avoiding disease. It's about feeling good, having more energy, and just living a better life.
Exactly. When we prioritize our health, we're investing in our overall well-being.
This conversation has definitely got me fired up to make some positive changes. Maybe I'll even put on that Motorhead song, Eat the Rich, for some extra motivation. Not literally, of course.
Yeah.
But it's a good reminder to stay informed, question things, and fight for a system that puts our health first.
I totally agree.
Well, thanks for joining us today for this look into the world of diabetes and all the things that affect our health. We hope you found this helpful and empowering. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.